see that because I'm from outside. You're in the fight, you sometimes don't see it. Had you not done what you did, the entire agenda of the left would be in now. Card check, cap and trade, green jobs. They would have gutted your military. Obamacare would be locked in. 11, 12, 20 million illegals would be voting in this election, and the southern border would be dissolved. Where would you be then, folks? The Tea Party saved America, folks. They don't get a lot of thanks for it, but I'm here to give thanks right now, because I understand what you did. You know it ain't over. Because something even greater happened in that time. I've been all over this country, folks. I've been to 41 of the 57 states now. I haven't found a few of them, but I'm sure they're there. Look, people, I've been to the reddest of the red and the bluest of the blue. I talk about Massachusetts when I go to other states. I say, blue Massachusetts has got some of the most vibrant Tea Party movements in the country, folks. I boast about you guys all over. And Michigan, some of the best states. People, you have fought back Agenda 21. You've fought back Common Core. You've taken back county commissions and school boards. You've put spine into the GOP all over this country. Now some of them, no state legislatures that you helped to win back. Now some of them are giving the finger to the federal government. Is that important?
Yes.
You know, Michigan is a right to work state because of people like you. You have done so much. You know. Look, sometimes I think this movement is a little bit like baby Superman. You do not know your own strength. You really don't. You know that that immigration, that amnesty bill would have gone through the House this last session had they not been so scared, Republicans, of what the Tea Party did to Marco Rubio and basically did to Eric Cantor. You know that, folks. And I'll give another example. Institute for Policy Studies, one of the most hardcore left-wing organisations in this country. They used to work with the KGB, now they work with the Cubans. The ideas factory of the Obama administration. I went to their 75th anniversary last year, paid my their 50th anniversary in Washington DC. I paid my $75, I put on my name tag, and I mingled with the Marxists. Because I wanted to know the enemy, people. That's what my books are about, knowing the enemy. You can't defeat them if you don't know them. I went there to find their agenda, what they were thinking, what their plans were. And I sat through several sessions and I got bored stiff. Absolutely bored rigid, folks. Because they talked about one thing all day. You. Tea Party this, Tea Party that. The Tea Parties took the state legislature's office. How do we not see this coming? We're going to do all this work all over again. They screwed us here. They screwed us there. What are we going to do about these people? They hardly mentioned the Republicans, folks. They were moaning about you all day long.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't understand your own strength, folks, your opposition does. They know the only thing standing between them and what they want is the grassroots. They don't fear the GOP, they fear you. Seriously. And so they should. I'm going to do something now that's normally considered very bad manners. But I'm a Kiwi and I can go home, right? Because you don't go to someone else's country and tell them how to run things, do you? Definitely not kosher. But I get asked all the time, what do we do next? Do we work with the GOP? Do we blow the GOP off? Do we just form a third party? Do we just do local issues? Are we wasting our time? Are we making a difference? My only value to you is as an outside observer. Because often you can see your neighbour's situation better than they can see their own. An outside view. This is how I see it, folks. You've got 100 years of progressivism to unravel. That might take you 10, 20, 30 years, I don't know. But one thing I do know for sure, you've got two massive battles looming, 2014 and 2016. And you have to win them, guys, because if you don't, the Democrats are going to dissolve the southern border and legalise the illegals, and they're going to swamp you. You have to win. Looking at the time we have left, there is only one force that has any chance of stopping the Democrats, and that is the GOP. But the really important question is this: what will the character of that GOP be? Because if the old guard, the John Boehners and the Karl Roves have their way, they'll give you a candidate like Jeb, Common Core is good, illegal immigration is an act of love, Bush, and you will lose, folks, because your base will stay home. It will fracture. It's a suicide trip. And if you fluke a victory by some miracle, big deal, because you've still got a progressive running things, folks. But if you have someone different, a real patriot, someone who's willing to put up his fist for the Constitution, someone with a proven record of bucking the establishment, maybe someone like a Ted Cruz, for instance. Very different. But how do you get there? That's the issue. I want to go back now. Tonight, I want to go back in history because I think this illustrates where you guys are now. 1976, folks, you had been losing your liberties, Republican, Democrat, for decades. And the people were pretty damn frustrated, but they had nowhere to go. But that year, they finally got an alternative. That year, a man came out of California who spoke of a shining city on the hill, and peace through strength, and liberty and the Constitution. And hundreds of thousands of people just like you folks loved what Ronald Reagan had to say. And they got behind him and backed him. And they pushed and pushed and pushed to get him that Republican nomination in 76. And what did the Rockefeller Republicans do, folks? The Karl Roves and the John Boehners of the day. They hated him. They sabotaged him. They slandered him. They denigrated him. Ronald Reagan was far too extreme to be elected. He would be the death of the GOP. He was a crazy fanatic, far too right-wing. Ronald Reagan was banned from Ohio that year, folks, by the Ohio State GOP. That's how much they hated him. And they beat him. They just beat him, and they gave the nomination to Gerald Ford. And Ford went up against Jimmy Carter, and Carter won. How did the Carter years work out, guys? Lots of fun, interest rates up to here, gas queues round the corner, gave away the Panama Canal, Iranian hostage crisis. Your second worst ever president, people. You're still suffering from him. Tough. But the really important point is this. The grassroots, the people just like you, did not give up. They came back for a second bite at the cherry. They got into the GOP. They took over the precinct positions, the township committees, all the nominating bodies of the party. When Reagan ran again in 1980, this time they were ready, and this time they were not going to take no for an answer. They pushed and pushed and pushed, and they forced the GOP to give them their candidate. And they did it. Reagan got the nomination, took on Carter, and took him out, people, 48 states to 2. Yeah. Not bad for an unelectable candidate, right? Yeah. Folks, the Iranian hostages were back on the first day. The interest rates went down. The taxes went down. The economy boomed. He rebuilt your military. He rebuilt the pride in your country. And he took out the Soviets without firing a shot, folks. Any better president in the 20th century? No. Anyone even close? No. And why did you have a Reagan revolution, folks? Because it was the one time that you people, the grassroots, got to choose the candidate. Could there be a lesson for today? Yeah. Because right now, folks, this country is Jimmy Carter on steroids. Yeah. And you need Ronald Reagan on meth to
Yeah.
turn this around. Not to just do what Reagan did, to go way beyond Reagan. The next president has to gut your federal government and restore the Constitution. You know that. But how are you going to do it? Reagan was a genius, an exceptional character, a great communicator. He could unite the social conservatives, the defence conservatives, and the fiscal conservatives into one platform. And that won on that election. But right now, people, you might not know this, but your base is pretty disunited. You know, you've got a million. Yeah, I just didn't know that. You've got a million libertarians who gave their vote to Gary Johnson last time. You've got social conservatives, fiscal conservatives, defence conservatives. You've got Tea Party Republicans. You've got moderate Republicans. You've got rhino progressives. You've got 4 million GOPers who stayed home last time. And you've got at least 20 million, maybe 30 million or more evangelical Christians who don't even register to vote. Folks, your base is way, way bigger than the Democrats. They have a fixed base. You have a far bigger base, but they don't vote because they're not motivated to. They're not inspired to. The Republican strategy is to tell everybody how bad the Democrats are. It doesn't work, folks. We should know that by now. Now, as you've alluded to, a lot of elements of this base don't like each other very much, do they? A little bit of friction going on from time to time. 2 years out for the most important presidential election in American history, and the base is still scrapping, folks. Can we afford that?
No.
Can we afford, with all the vote for it against you, with all the media against you, can you afford to lose any element of your base if you're going to win and make that victory worth something?
No.
But how do you get them together, folks? That's the question. You can wave, say this magic word, unify, 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 but that's not us, people. Conservatives are not natural unifiers. The left is, we're not, because we're individuals who have our own ideas. But there is one way you can unify people, and that is by giving them an incentive and a vision. It's the only way you can do it, folks. Reagan could do it. And Newt Gingrich did it with his contract with America. So this is what I would do if I was a man like Ted Cruz. Doesn't have to be Ted, but I think he's the most Reagan-esque figure out there. I would want to get that Reagan coalition together now, way before the primaries. So I'd be going to all of these groups and saying something like this. We have to take this country back. We have to unify. We have to gut the federal government and restore the Constitution. Here's how we can do it, if you're with me. The first thing I'm going to do is run and run early, and I'm going to put Alan West on my VP ticket. Then for you libertarians, I want you on board, and I'm going to make Rand Paul Secretary of the Treasury, and he can do what he damn well wants to the Federal Reserve. And then you energy voters, Sarah Palin, Secretary of Energy. Drill, baby, drill. Drill in your backyard if you want to. $1 a gallon gas for every American family.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell the environmentalists to go fracking now.
Scott Walker, Secretary of Labour. Ticket to the unions, right to work in every state, folks. Mike Lee, Secretary of the Interior. Return the federal lands to the states, folks. John Bolton, Secretary of State. Stick it to your enemies, John. Sick 'em on your enemies, rebuild your alliances. Secretary of Health and Human Services, Dr. Ben Carson. End the welfare culture in this country, restore dignity to your communities. For all those millions of Christians out there who don't care about politics, but they don't want Common Core, they love homeschooling, I'd say to them, vote for me in your millions, I'll protect your rights, I'll make David Barton Secretary of Education. And very important, Ambassador to the United Nations. No one. And then Attorney General Trey Gowdy. So after the vote fraudsters, prosecute and jail them. Restore justice to the same folks. Name your whole cabinet. Name it early and run as a team. Would you be inspired by a team like that? Would you get out of bed at 5 o'clock every morning to go door knocking, phone banking, whatever it took? And would it unify the base? Because everybody's getting something, right? Everybody's getting someone to inspire them. A clear policy direction. Sarah Palin wouldn't be there to manage the Department of Energy. She's there to abolish it.
Yes.
You know that. You can see what's going to happen. People, you have never had a bigger base of real libertarians and constitutionalists and conservatives than you have today. You've got a far bigger base than Reagan had. You put that base together with a team of leaders like that, who would stand in your way, folks?
No one.
Because right now you have a big problem. Every 4 years, the Republicans put up a candidate and their media rips them to pieces, folks. How many times do they have to do it before they learn this? Every 4 years. What is the media going to do if Ted Cruz is running with a team of 20 rock-wheelers who are all backing each other up and not taking any crap from anyone? What will the media do with that one, folks? Reagan was a genius. He bypassed the media. He went to the people. You imagine that whole team running in threes or groups of threes and fours, holding mass rallies in every state. You imagine the enthusiasm that would generate, folks. Getting it out to the people. You imagine the union guys who would vote Republican so their sons and daughters could get work in the energy fields. You imagine the liberal soccer moms who would vote Republican just to get rid of Common Core, folks. How much of a coalition could you build? Because right now, well, I'll say this, and there is a precedent for this. You know, Ronald Reagan named his cabinet in 76. But there's an even greater precedent. You didn't have a founding father, folks. You didn't just have George Washington. You had George Washington, Samuel Adams, and James Madison, Patrick Henry, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin. You had a whole team to run that revolution. And they were human. They had their egos. They had their conflicting agendas. But they put them aside for the good of the country and the sake of the revolution. And look at the country they gave you, folks. Look at what they did for you. If you have, and you want another revolution in this country, folks, you need a team. You need the base which you've got, and you need a team. If you can put that together, folks, you can have a second revolution like nothing else. You can set this country alight. So what I'm asking for out of you guys is 2 years and 2 months at least of the hardest political work you have ever done. I know what you do, people. I know the money you spend, the time you invest, the sacrifices you make. I know what it does to your families. I know your children or grandchildren often don't understand why you can't come to their soccer game on Saturday because you're out door knocking or phone banking or whatever you're doing. I know the tensions this creates. I know the sacrifices you endure. And I'm asking for more of it, folks. I'm asking for even more of it. Because 2 years and 2 months is going to decide the fate of not just this country, but my country.
Yes.
Not just your children, but my children. I can't guarantee you very much. I can guarantee you 2 things. If you do nothing, your children will live in slavery.
Yes.
If you give it everything you have got, if you give it every possible thing you have, the very least I can promise you is the right to look your children in the eye and say, I did everything I could.
Yes.
What is that worth to you, folks?
Everything.
And if you win, and you can win, you will give your children not just the amazing country you inherited, but one even greater. Is that worth giving your all for, folks? So I just want to say to you people, thank you so much for what you do for your country and for my country and for liberty. God bless America and God bless the Tea Party. Hi man, hi Emma.
Credit card also.